Let me just call on Senator Ontiveros. It's your turn. Senator Ontiveros, are you there? Senator Lacson? Senator Ontiveros, are you there? Senator Lacson? We're almost needing kasi the session na. Senator Angara?
Mr. Chairman.
Yes, who's that? The Senator Lacson?
Yes.
Good. I know that you're locked up in your room.
Yeah.
You can run, but you can't hide.
Thank you for recognizing me. I have a few issues to take up today. The first issue that I'd like to tackle concerns the DBM, because this okay. I have a slide, that states the DOH financial highlights. And I'd like to ask the DBM to explain this, because a look at this slide will show a continuing appropriation in the amount of 15,371,631,000 pesos under specific budget, CONAP, continuing appropriation for 2020. However, when this item was listed, this time in sub-item B, allotments, the amount became 12,179,343,000. Same item on a specific budget, continuing appropriations. So resulting in a discrepancy of more than 3 billion, 3.19 billion in fact. Now, unlike the other items described as CONAP, namely automatic appropriations and special purpose fund, nabawasan po ito ng 3 billion mahigit. So,
Yes,
sir. Yeah. Should not the same amount of 15 billion plus be reflected in sub-item B, allotments, instead of 12 billion? So, ano yung reason for the discrepancy and where did it go? DBM, please.
Mr. Chair, initially, my analysis here is that from... Teka, sir, ha? Pinag-aaralan ko lang po, sir. Sandali lang po.
Kasi pag sinabi natin continuing appropriations, continuing. So, bakit nabawasan?
Sir.
So, dapat carried over yan?
Sir, hindi. Kasi it does not necessarily follow na yung leftover appropriation will be carried over. There will be certain items that will not be carried over the next year. So there might be, that is the reason why mas mababa siya the next year. Ganun po yun.
I've been participating in budget deliberations. Ang pagkaalam ko, but of course, I may be wrong, but ito yung customarily nakikita natin. Pag sinabi natin continuing appropriations, it's continuing appropriations. And having said that, since you mentioned that hindi naman lahat ng items nakikerry, we would like to find out what are the items that have not been carried over to sub-item B, allotments. At saka ano yung mga nasakripisyo, in terms of the priority programs, activities and projects ng DOH, ano yung sinacrifice nyo?
Sir, Your Honor, ako po bang?
Yes, still DBM.
Yes,
And
sir.
also, DOH, if they know the answer, ano ba yung nabawas na nawala sa kanilang mga programa na hindi isinama doon sa continuing appropriations?
Yun, sir, kung ano yung mga hindi na carry over, I think DOH would be in a better position to explain what items they actually did not continue under yung continuing appropriation nila, which they call CONAP.
Yes, DOH, please.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chairman. Kindly recognize, please, Director Rowena Laura, the Finance Director of the DOH, Mr. Chairman.
Yes.
Director Wang Laura, please.
Yes, Mr. Chair, Your Honor. Regarding the year-end 2020 unobligated allotment of the DOH, Ang total po talaga niya is 24.6 billion. However po, out of the 24.6 billion, only 17.4 billion will be considered as continuing appropriation. 7.1 billion of which po is hindi na nga po magiging continuing appropriation since lapse po ito. Example po nito, sir, yung foreign loans po. Lapse po ito, hindi po siya naging part of continuing appropriation. Same with po,
Excuse me, Undersecretary. Iba yon ha. Pag sinabi nating loans, nasa, I believe, nasa unprogrammed yun. Ano?
Yes.
Or
tama, sir.
Tama yun.
automatic appropriations, pareho na carry over, same amount. Pati yung special purpose fund, which is an allocation or appropriation to augment the regular budget. At tinatanong ko lang yung specific budget amounting to 15 billion na nabawasan ng 3 billion. As we can see also on the slide, ano, yung sa 2019, di ba, ang continuing appropriation niya, 6.8 billion. So, nagkaroon lang siya ng increase sa continuing appropriation sa CONAP ng 15 billion kasi na-carry over pa rin yung, kasi mayroong increase na 8.5 billion. Kindly enlighten us, Undersecretary.
Sir, Mr. Chair, yung hawak po namin kasing data ngayon is already confirmed na po to sa DBM during our last reconciliation po kung ano po yung naging CONAP and ang naging lapse. So if you will allow us po, we will try to send our data today po para po ma-reconcile itong figures po ng disparity, Your Honor, Mr. Chair.
We also asked COA, ano, kasi sila naman ang nag-flag nito.
Yes po.
Ng computation na tumama do sa difference na 3.192 billion. Sinabi nila under General Administration and Support, Personal Services under Administration of Personal Benefits, 3.051 billion. Now, operation, capital outlay under Health Facilities Enhancement Program, 0.103 billion or 103 million. MOE under Pharmaceutical Management, 0.009 billion. Personal Services under Operation of Dangerous Drugs Abuse Treatment, 0.029 billion. So ito yung mga nasacrifice na mga programs ng DOH. And if we sum this all up, aabot talaga siya ng yung difference na tinitingnan. Kindly cross-check kung tama itong mga programs na nawala sa DOH and why were these programs chosen to be deleted under CONAP?
We'll do that, Your Honor, Mr. Chair. Salamat po.
Okay, sige, utang ha.
Utang po. Salamat po.
Sige. Anyway, next point, next issue. Now, during the Commission on Appointments hearing, and I would like to address this to Secretary Duque, on the appointment, on your appointment as a head of the agency, the DOH, I ask you, I remember this, I raised the issue on the agency supply chain of medicines, since there have been reports of wastage due to overstocking and expiration of drugs and medicine. Ito po yung transcript na ipapakita natin sa screen. Maliwanag po, nag-commit kayo noon. Transcript of records show that Secretary Duque committed in prioritizing the procurement and disposition of supplies to avoid unutilized and idle inventories. Ito po yung sinabi niyo, Secretary. We will do that. It's been my priority. This was last February of 2018 when you faced us, because I was a member of the Commission on Appointments at the time. I still am. Your Honor, because I will not allow it. Your Honors, that we have overstocking of medicines, and then you added pa. Under my watch, we will not allow this. Your Honor, so we'll make sure that proper systems are in place. The logistics and supply chain reforms must be put in place ASAP, Your Honor. So what happened, Secretary Duque, kasi ito na ngayon, papakita ko yung next slide. Nagkaroon ng overstocking of drugs and medicines. And in the spirit of fairness, I went back further. Hindi lang yung para wag nyo naman sabihin na parang pinofocus ko lang doon sa under your administration since 2018. Bumalik po ako rito hanggang 2013, as a matter of fact. And we can see in this slide, kindly plus the next slide, overstocking of drugs and medicines. Okay, 2013, 4.442 million. 2014, 6.851 million. 2015, and so forth and so on. Andyan naman sa slide. Ito, meron siyang breakdown. And this came from COA. Because hindi lang yung 2020 COA report ang tiningnan namin dito. Ibinalik ko pa yung, just to highlight the point that these are recurring issues. Hindi lamang sa panahon ni Pangulong Duterte, hindi lang sa panahon ni Secretary Duque bilang DOH Secretary, pero recurring ito eh. At saka ang laki na nasasayang, imagine, for the past how many years? 8 years, 2013 hanggang 2020. Ang tinapon nating pera, 2,736,428,600 pesos and 98 centavos. Hindi ba nakakapanghinayang ito? At ang daming walang gamot, lalo sa mga barangays. So what's the reason for this? Why are we overstocking? Why are we buying nearly or nearing expiration ng mga gamot na nag-expire tuloy? So andyan din yung breakdown. So what does this tell us? Sa akin, because I've been an investigator all my life, ang ini-indicate sa akin ito is probably, and this is not, I'm saying not possibly, but probably, merong mafia na well-entrenched, na hindi nabubuwag, hindi na-uproot, hindi na-extract, nandyan, nananatili sa DOH. Pwedeng nag-retire na yung iba, pero pinalitan ng natutong bagong miyembro ng mafia. And unless the secretary or the leadership of the DOH will really put his foot down and do something about this, hindi matatapos itong overstocking ng gamot. I'm sure if I go a bit more or a bit further pa, I'm sure lalabas pa rin itong mga overstocking na ito. And year in and year out, we are wasting hundreds of millions of pesos. Ayan na nga, from 2013, 2.736. Now, Secretary Duque, anong gagawin natin dito? What are the factors contributing to this? Pardon my assumption or my conclusion. But I think it makes sense to think na meron talagang mafia involved in the procurement of drugs and medicines. Because for the life of me, I cannot understand. Bakit tayo bibili ng malapit na mag-expire na gamot? May suki ba tayong malapit na mag-expire na gamot? Yun ang binibilan natin lagi. At yun ang, or yun ang nananalo sa bidding. Kindly enlighten us, Secretary Duque.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Ito pong binanggit ninyo, yung kasing meron tayong standards kung halimbawa may gamot na dapat 18 to 24 months. Hindi ko lang po hawak, pero may standards po tayo na inihanda ito ng program at saka in fact even FDA. Hindi ka pwedeng bumili ng mga near expiring drugs and medicines. So siguro yung near expiry dito po na nakikita natin, baka hindi lang siya gumalaw kaagad at lumapit na doon sa kanyang expiration. Pero siguro mas maganda po, with your permission, Mr. Chairman, yung aking USEC sa procurement supply chain, ito po, ang alam ko, meron na po siyang programa dito para ito ay maibsan. Yung reforms na ginagawa natin, Mr. Chairman, halimbawa sa governance, meron na po tayong supply chain management office, yung development of the National Procurement and Supply Chain Management Strategic Plan. Tapos meron din tayo yung updating of the Warehouse Operations Manual, yung development of forms and improvement of processes on notification, shipping list and bundling of essential commodities.
With all due respect.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, sir.
I think ang better approach dito is a thorough scrutiny of the department or the unit under DOH that's in charge of procuring drugs and medicines. Instead of,
Yeah.
you know, the theoretical or the usual hyperluting words describing how to go about it. Ako, tingin ko rito, kasi well-entrenched imagine. At saka itong nearing expired, overstock, hindi po sa akin galing ito, sa COA ito. And COA, sila yung nasa ground, yung mga resident COA and COA investigators, were the ones who found out or discovered ito mga nearing expired. Pag sinabi natin nearing expiry, hindi pwede yung matagal pang mag-expire pero naging idle lang. No? Kasi iba yung expired. Imagine magkano lahat yan na expired na yan. Pag inalis natin yung overstock at saka yung nearing expiry. Yung expired, ito yung talagang wastage. And wastage of public funds. Now, hindi ba mas maganda po na pag-aralan natin mabuti unless, and I don't want to believe that you have been co-opted, no, because
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir.
I believe that. No? So, if I may suggest, I think an investigation is in order to
Okay,
find
sir.
bakit lagi na lang ganito yung ating pagbili o pag-procure ng drugs and medicines. Imagine, no, 2.7. Pag bumalik pa tayo ng another 8 years, baka umabot na ito ng 5 billion. And nag-commit po kayo ng 2018, February 7, when you faced us in the Commission on Appointments. Pero 2019, lumobo, naging 2.2 billion yung overstock, expired sa nearing expiry. Hindi po dapat, di ba dapat hindi na COA ang magre-raise ng red flag dito? Dapat kayo na.
Yes, sir.
2019, a year after you committed during the confirmation hearings, lumobo pa siya ng 2.2 billion. So kung ako yung, of course, theoretical ito, no? Kung ako yung nasa posisyon, gagawin ko agad. Titingnan ko, may mafia ba rito? Bakit taon-taon ganito hindi nagbabago? These are recurring issues involving drugs and medicine. Now,
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Magpapaimbestiga po ako nito.
Yes.
Lalo na yung sinabi ninyo na yung may mafia. Kailangan talaga itong...
ako yung mag-iisip, yun lang iisipin ko kasi recurring. Sana kung isang taon lang tapos nawala, maaaring kapabayaan lang. Pero pattern na po ito Secretary. So please.
Yes, sir.
Now,
We will do that, sir.
to
Yes,
the
sir.
issue, no? I'll fast track this. Yung deficiencies on management of HPEP equipment, ito po mas malaki ito. 4 billion plus over a period of 7 years. From 2014, andyan this slide. Kindly show this slide. Itong HPEP, ito yung banner programs, one of the banner programs under the Aquino administration kasi nagsimula ito 2014. For the upgrading of health facilities and providing training to health professionals to improve the access of people to quality health care. Yeah, the proper implementation of this program would have been beneficial to our response to this pandemic, especially now, mayroong pandemic. Now, ako, ito, matter of record, I supported the SPEP of DOH in terms of my institutional budget amendments kasi pag nag-amend ako, it's always institutional. As I believe that this is an integral part of our universal healthcare system. Crucial ito sa efforts natin to respond to the health crisis. For the 2020 budget alone, I propose an increase in the amount of 1 billion pesos. In 2021, nag-propose na naman ako ng increase na 8.68 billion. Sinusuportahan naman po ito ng mga kasamahan ko kasi alam nila na importante yung compliance sa universal healthcare. Pero pag nakita natin yung lapses in the implementation, ito, COA report din ito, through the years, in 2020 alone, equipment in the aggregate amount of 1.2 billion procured under HPEP were found to be either undelivered, unutilized, and without calibration and preventive maintenance. So sayang na naman yung pera ng bayan dito, Secretary. What can you say? Please, Secretary Duque.
Mr. Chairman, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Magagamit pa naman ito, Mr. Chairman, i-recalibrate lang para nang sa ganon makatulong sa atin mga diagnostics sa mga DOH retained hospitals. We have about 74 retained hospitals. So, papacheck ko po ito kaagad kung ano ang naging estado nitong mga makinang ito. I will order the regional directors to give me a report on the wherewithal of all of these equipment amounting to in 2020 1.2, in 2019 716 million, and so forth down the line. So titingnan ko po baka naman ito ay masalba pa ito at siguraduhin lang na makuha ko yung report at ano yung mga recalibration efforts na dapat gawin to make them functional if they're not yet functional, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you po. Hindi ito usapin ng corruption, usapin po ito ng inefficiency.
Yes, sir. I agree, sir. I do agree, sir. Masakit po ito na ganito
So,
po.
for that matter, can you just give us a detailed inventory of all HPEP facilities in the country that are actually serving the intended purpose of the program?
We will do, sir. We will do, sir.
Pati mga deficient?
Yes, sir. Lahat na po ng inventory, yung functional, yung deficient or already I don't know what the term is, yung hindi na po magamit at gano'n na katagal itong mga makina na ito.
Pakilista nyo lang lahat yung utang.
Please wrap up.
Yes, sir. We will do, sir.
Ito another issue, yung deficiency or deficiencies in the management of HPEP infrastructure projects. Ito malaki.
Sana ka na ba siya?
8.5 billion pesos. So isama nyo na rin ito. So ang
Yes, sir.
problema rito, we're depriving the public of the benefits that they could have derived from the immediate and maximum use of these facilities. Hindi ba? Kasi kung mga deficiencies, medyo nasi-shortchange natin yung, sabihin natin yung customers ninyo, yung clientele. The public, kasi alam nyo, yung health napaka-importante, hindi po ba sa ating bansa, sa ating mga kababayan. Tapos makakakita tayo ng 18.5 billion or almost 18.6 billion na mga deficient at saka inadequate yung serbisyong binibigay. So, another utang, Secretary?
Yes, sir. Itong management of HPEP infrastructure projects, magpapagawa ako ng inventaryo ng lahat ng mga kontrata nito. At tingnan ko kung bakit hindi natapos at ano kaya ang mga circumstances. Dahil, so I will have all the contracts reviewed, Mr. Chairman, Your Honor.
Maraming salamat po, Secretary. Now,
Senator Ping, we're being told by the Senate President that we must finish by 2:30. So actually your time is up, but I'll give you time to wrap up.
sige, last point ito sa round. Pero sige, Mr. Chairman, if you want to, para makapag-prepare din tayo sa session, but ito na muna, last point on this issue. Ito, another point of concern is the disbursement of various DOH, ito, lahat na ito, various DOH operating units that did not comply with established rules, procedural guidelines, policies, principles or practices. Alam nyo, ito binabantayan ng COA lagi. Irregular, unnecessary, and excessive expenditures. Pag nakakita sila ng ganyan, either one of the three, talagang red flag ka agad yan. Tama po ba yan, Chairman Mike?
Po, that's part of the compliance audit that's done together with the annual audit.
Basta nakakita kayo ng irregular, excessive, saka unnecessary, red flag agad. So, ito, 956 million pesos, starting from 2016 hanggang 2020. Can you, DOH, anyway, we don't have time anymore. Can you elaborate? Pag-isama nyo na rin sa i-report nyo ito sa amin, Secretary.
Certainly, Mr. Chairman. So, ang akin pong marching order sa mga implementing units ay magpadala sila kaagad ng kanilang mga paliwanag dito sa mga irregular, unnecessary, and excessive expenditures. Kung ito ba'y lumalabag sa ating pong mga panuntunan at posibleng humantong ito sa mga notice of disallowances later on. But I would like to correct this even before it reaches that stage of the investigation by COA, that is. So gagawin ko na lang po ito, Mr. Chairman, na titingnan ko kung ano yung mga rejoinder, bakit nagkaroon ng ganito, at kailangan ito po ay matugunan ng malinaw. Bakit nangyari? Ano ang gagawin nila? Alam naman po nila yung kanilang pananagutan dito sa mga observations ng COA. Yun lang po, Mr. Chairman.
Pwede silang humarap ng sa ombudsman dito kasi pagka nagkaroon ng notice of disallowance o kaya nagkaroon ng technical malversation and so forth and so on, medyo baka may pagkalalagyan. So anyway, Mr. Chairman, I have many questions more addressed to Undersecretary Laos, but since we lack the material time, we have a session at 3 o'clock. I will suspend my interpellation and hopefully next time that you resume the hearing or the inquiry, baka pwedeng we take off from we left off. Kung sino yung huling natapos, baka ako yung pwede magsimula. Kasi I've been here this morning, alam nyo.
I know, all of us have been here.
Nag-log in ako at 9:30 thinking na maaga ako. Yung pala si Senator Amy, 8:34 naka-log in na. So naging number 9 ako sa list. So thank you, Mr. Chairman. That's all for now.
Thank you. If we were short on that, I apologize, but I was just given the list by my staff on who came in. But thank you for your questions. They were very precise.